Did you know the CIA's infamous MK Ultra program never actually ended in 1973? A declassified document from 1984 revealed the mind control experiments simply moved underground. Over 185 universities unknowingly participated in these psychological operations. McGill University built sensory deprivation chambers that left students with permanent memory gaps. Stanford Research Institute trained subjects to spy using remote viewing techniques. Decades later, survivors came forward describing complete personality changes in missing time. They remembered entering as normal college students, but leaving as different people entirely. Leaked budget documents show the program continued through the 1990s under new code names. Project Artichoke, Bluebird, and dozens of others received millions in black budget funding. Former test subjects filed lawsuits, but most records had been mysteriously destroyed. The techniques developed allegedly evolved into modern social media algorithms. The same psychological triggers used in those experiments now influence what you see online. Your feed might be the latest version of mind control, just delivered through your phone.
Now, I just recently discovered MK Ultra, and it blew my freaking mind because I do not remember hearing about this in high school, learning this in college. I did not hear about this. And recently coming across this, I heard, I was reacting to a video and I heard Tucker Carlson talking about it. And when I listened to it, I was like, oh, okay, MK Ultra, whatever. And then he kept talking. I didn't really think about what he said until I realized, he said it again. And then I'm like, MK Ultra, what is that? And then I looked it up and I was just blown away. These experiments that was illegal, that the CIA decided to create a program where they used people illegally and into trying to make them change human behavior. It is so wild. Let's check out this video, and it's going to be more in depth of what this program was about back in the day. And let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Do you think, or do you have a suspicion, or do you have proof that something like this is still going on today in 2025? Let me know what you guys think about that, or if you heard something in the comments below.
In the 1950s and 60s, the CIA conducted a sinister secret program to master the science of mind control. While the secret studies might sound like the stuff of horror science fiction, sometimes the truth is even stranger. Beginning in 1945, American and British organizations teamed up to gather as much military, scientific, and technological research as possible throughout occupied Germany. As German research facilities were seized, Allied force groups began to confiscate war-related documents and materials and interrogate scientists. One particular document was the Ausenberg List, a catalog of scientists and engineers working at the service of the Third Reich. Run by the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency, or JIOA, the covert operation dubbed Operation Overcast, then renamed Operation Paperclip, involved having 1,600 German scientists and their families brought to the US during the Cold War to work on America's behalf. The objective was to use German intelligence to develop America's arsenal of biological and chemical weapons, ensuring that they didn't fall in the hands of the Soviet Union. While President Harry Truman sanctioned the operation, he forbade recruiting any Nazis or Nazi supporters. In spite of this, the JIOA bypassed this directive by hiding any incriminating evidence of possible war crimes from some of the scientists' records. Concerned that the Russians had developed mind control programs, the CIA wanted to find out how US spies would hold up if it was used against them. With this in mind, Operation Bluebird, later called MK Ultra, was created by Dr. Sidney Gottlieb. Despite going against the Nuremberg Code, which prohibits experimentation on human subjects without their consent, MK Ultra was conducted in secrecy for over a decade and experimented with, quote, the use of biological and chemical materials in altering human behavior. This amounted to many experiments being carried out on an estimated thousands of US subjects, many of whom did not know exactly what they were signing up for. Some of the subjects included sex workers, prisoners, and people with terminal illness. And many of the experiments involved the administration of illegal drugs. According to journalist Stephen Kinzer, who wrote the book Poisoner-in-Chief about Gottlieb, Gottlieb wanted to create a way to seize control of people's minds, and he realized that it was a two-part process.
See, these type of people are freaking whack and crazy. They do not need to be existing on this planet. That you can't just create something and thinking it's with good intentions without really thinking ahead of what the bad possibilities this could come to if it was put in the wrong hands of really bad evil people or billionaires or elites or presidents or anybody. This is crazy.
First, you had to blast away the existing mind. Second, you had to find a way to insert a new mind into that resulting void. And what did Dr. Sidney Gottlieb believe was the best way to blast away the existing mind? A newly created drug called LSD. After its discovery in 1943, psychiatrists researched the drug for possible use for depressed, psychotic, and epileptic therapies. In the early 1950s, Gottlieb arranged for the CIA to buy the world's entire supply of LSD. Once he had collected all of the LSD on US soil, he began distributing it under the guise of bogus foundations, sending it to hospitals, clinics, prisons, and other credible institutions to begin administering it in a series of research projects.
Experts say that while Gottlieb technically reported to Richard Helms and CIA director at the time Alan Dulles,
in essence, he operated almost completely without supervision, in partly because his bosses didn't want to know the details. This resulted in Gottlieb never having to file serious reports when experiments ended in tragedy, and the experiments often did. In 1963, CIA Inspector General John Vance learned of the program. His office reported, quote,
"The concepts involved in manipulating human behavior are found by many people, both within and outside the agency, to be distasteful and unethical."
As a result of this report, Project MKUltra's operations were slowly scaled back. Eventually, Gottlieb decided that LSD was not useful and that mind control was not possible. The program ended, and in 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered that all documentation from Project MKUltra be destroyed. But while most of the records were destroyed, information on the project remained in some 8,000 pages of financial documents that were accidentally left over. These, along with witness testimonies, would piece together the sordid history of MKUltra. A 1985 Supreme Court document identified MKUltra as 162 separate projects under one umbrella, many of which were conducted at universities and research foundations that did not even know they were taking part in a CIA experiment. Taking place all over the country, the experiments used LSD, barbiturates, hypnosis, and biological agents, and resulted in some unspeakable horrors. In one instance, a mental patient in Kentucky was continuously fed LSD for 174 days.
Jesus. Oh my God. Okay, so after the American people found out about this and what they were doing, the CIA in particular was doing, without their consent at these universities, people around the country, why didn't we call for the, deconstruction of the CIA, getting it completely rooted out of this country? Because who's to say who's the corrupted people into the CIA when the whole agency was in on this? There's no way that this doesn't exist to this day. I feel like it still exists. As soon as I found this out, I started thinking about 600 million other things that have been going on in this country and are still going on today in 2025. That's making it seem like, well, how do they do this? How do they do this? How do they do that? And then you come across MKUltra and you're like, well, that could be a possibility. That is one way you can do some of these evil things that are going on in today's day. Is the CIA still conducting experiments on people, or have they already figured out the way on how to control minds in this country? So they got rid of the program, they stopped the program, and now they're using the program under wraps and unknowingly to the American public and the world, probably, for all we know. This is wild and crazy, and I believe every person should know about this. That way we can figure out, people need to start asking questions. Well, how do we prevent ourselves from getting, tricked by our own government or people in agencies that are part of the government? obviously don't do drugs. I mean, they've been pushing that for a long time, but there's still people out there that want to do drugs, thinking that drugs just make them feel good. But really, it's just a tool that our government can use against you unknowingly. And that's the perfect time to attack coming from an evil person or an agency in this case.
While nearly every part of the MKUltra experiment is easily viewed as horrifying, nothing is so stomach-turning and alarming as the death of Frank Olson.
Here we go.
On November 28, 1953, government scientist Frank Olson jumped from, or was pushed, from a high-level window at the Hotel Statler in New York City. The fall killed him, and the CIA claimed he jumped from the window, committing suicide due to work-related stress. In his life, Olson was recruited to work for the Army's biological lab in 1950 to develop aerosol weapons that could be transmitted through air particles. During visits to warfare research centers in UK, Paris, Norway, and West Germany, it is said that he witnessed extreme interrogations in which the CIA committed murder using biological weapons that Dr. Olson had developed. On November 24th, he told his division chief that he was resigning. His chief then suggested he head to New York for psychological treatment. The day after Thanksgiving, Olson called home saying he was feeling better. Olson would die later that evening.
Wow.
While his family accepted the explanation from the CIA that his death was the result of a stress-induced suicide, they changed their mind when in 1975 details of Project MKUltra were made public. An investigation by the family would show that the window of the hotel was too small for Olson to have jumped out himself. Later in the 70s, the CIA admitted that Olson had been drugged, and President Gerald Ford apologized to the family. But the cause of the death remained a mystery.
Admitted.
In 1974, Seymour Hersh exposed the MKUltra program when he wrote about it for the New York Times. In 1977, a Senate committee conducted hearings about the project. They noted that there were effectively very few medical pre-screening procedures in place for subjects targeted in the program. Moreover, the report states, at least one death, that of Dr. Olson, resulted from these activities. The agency itself acknowledged that these tests made little scientific sense. The agents doing the monitoring were not qualified scientific observers. The test subjects were seldom accessible beyond the first hours of the test. In a number of instances, the test subject became ill for hours or days, and effective follow-up was impossible. The committee decided that the victims of MKUltra should be notified, but finding them was quite difficult since the CIA had destroyed much of the project's records. While lawsuits were filed and court cases heard demands for restitutions for victims and more information be released, ultimately little was done. According to San Francisco Weekly, only 14 people were actually notified, even though potentially thousands were exposed to MKUltra experiments. In 1994, Frank Olson's son had his father's body exhumed. A new investigation showed that Frank Olson had suffered a blow to the head before falling to his death, but a New York District Attorney investigation showed inconclusive results. The family reached a settlement with the US government. While so little of what actually went on as part of the MKUltra experiment is known today, the experiments have become intertwined with pop culture. Not only have the experiments inspired media such as The Manchurian Candidate, American Ultra, and Stranger Things, many prominent authors and artists like Ken Kesey, Allen Ginsberg, and Robert Hunter, lyricist for the Grateful Dead, were not only inspired by LSD, but originally got it from MKUltra experiments. Interestingly enough, while at this point universally condemned, this secret Cold War government experiment known as MKUltra has resulted in effects that have been seen by a lot more people than will ever know the project existed.
And who's to say we just got hypnotized by the fucking screen? I don't know. There's crazy crap that goes on in this country and in this world. After learning so much about MKUltra, how they, they're saying that it's moved underground. It's still continuing to this day. I don't want to believe that, but anything is possible, especially when you have a rogue, agency like the CIA that admitted afterwards that yes, he was on LSD. Yes, we have been doing some illegal activities. Why the hell didn't the majority of the American people say, we are done with the CIA, we need you guys to step down? Create another agency, start hiring different people, start vetting these people. How are these people getting vetted in the CIA? So many more questions need to be asked now. And in my personal opinion, this makes me think about, hospitals, urgent cares, clinics, anything that has to do with the medical field in this country should be audited every freaking month. Once a month, every single place, every single employee that works in these medical facilities should be audited to make sure they're all doing what they're supposed to be doing for their profession. Even counselors that are entrusted to, talk and speak to people into helping them get through their trauma. The reason people go to counselors is because they need help. They need to get, things out of their system to say, hey, I've been going through this and this, or this happened to me, and I just am stressing so much. I'm having nightmares. I can't live day to day anymore. I don't know what to do with myself. People that are on the verge of offing themselves. I mean, these are the people that need to be taken care of, and we're trusting medical professionals and even counselors that don't have medical, shouldn't have any type of medical experience, but they should just be getting them to understand psychologically what is going on in their minds to help, relieve their minds, and then report back to a doctor that can make the decision on if they need medication of some sort or not. But I swear, there's people in this country, and they need to be reevaluated. And I hope there's something that we can do to call upon our local officials, the President of the United States, to say, hey, we need to make a change in this field of the medical profession, because there's so many things going wrong with patients. Even, hearing reports online on the news about patients getting mistreated by nurses or doctors or people in hospice. I mean, there's so many stories out there, and this can all be prevented. Do audits. Keep doing audits on these people. Figure out, if they're getting paid a certain salary and they're living in a mansion with 500 cars, they should be questioned and investigated. People that we know are getting paid a certain amount for their profession, no matter how long they've been there, it needs to be questioned. That's all I'm asking for, is people need to be investigated and questioned if things are going wrong. Especially when you have patients that are not wanting to say something initially and wait years later to finally say something, and it's too late when these people are already dead or they're done with their profession. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments below. It's just mind-blowing to me about hearing this type of stuff, because it makes me feel like this could answer so many questions about what's going on with assassinations. Why do people do this? Why are people doing that? Why are people rioting instead of peacefully protesting? Why are, it starts making you think outside the box when you start learning new information, especially about MK Ultra. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Like and subscribe, I would appreciate it. Until next time, peace out, everybody. This one's for Charlie.